All right, strap yourselves in, folks, because today we're diving headfirst into a topic that's both terrifying and strangely compelling: nuclear weapons. We're talking about the kind of firepower that makes a hand grenade look like a particularly aggressive firefly, and more specifically, which countries have the most of them just casually lying around. But in all seriousness, the global balance of nuclear power is a pretty big deal. So let's take a look at who has what and maybe learn a thing or two about why this whole nuclear business is a bit more complicated than just counting warheads like they're Pokemon cards. And here we are, folks, at the top of the leaderboard, though I wouldn't exactly call this a prize anyone wants to win. It's a grim reminder of the destructive power that humanity has harnessed over the decades. It's Russia, with an estimated arsenal of, wait for it, around 6,255 nuclear warheads. That's right, more than enough to obliterate the planet several times over. That's a lot of firepower. Imagine the sheer magnitude of destruction that could be unleashed with just a fraction of these weapons. Like, enough to turn the entire planet into a very poorly lit parking lot several times over. The aftermath would be catastrophic, with landscapes transformed into barren wastelands and cities reduced to rubble. Now, Russia's history with nuclear weapons goes back to the Cold War, when they were locked in a terrifying game of my nuclear button is bigger than yours with the good old US of A. This period saw an arms race that pushed both nations to the brink of nuclear war. They tested their first atomic bomb back in 1949, just a few years after the US dropped theirs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This marked the beginning of a new era of nuclear proliferation. Over the decades, Russia's nuclear program just kept growing, fueled by paranoia, Cold War posturing, and enough plutonium to make Marie Curie spin in her grave like a top. The sheer scale of their nuclear ambitions was staggering. They even detonated the Tsar Bomba back in 1961, the most powerful nuclear weapon ever tested. The explosion was so massive that it shattered windows hundreds of miles away and sent shockwaves around the globe. And while the Cold War is technically over, Russia still sees its nuclear arsenal as a key part of its national security strategy. They continue to invest heavily in maintaining and modernizing their stockpile, ensuring that their nuclear capabilities remain a central pillar of their defense policy. The legacy of the Cold War lives on, casting a long shadow over global security. Coming in at a close second, because apparently nobody wins when it comes to the nuclear arms race, is the United States. The competition in this arena has been fierce and relentless, with both superpowers amassing vast arsenals over the decades. They've got an estimated 5,550 nuclear warheads, a staggering number that reflects decades of stockpiling and technological advancements, which is still enough to make the dinosaurs jealous they went extinct the old-fashioned way. Imagine the sheer power contained within these weapons, capable of altering the course of history in an instant. Now, the US doesn't exactly have a squeaky clean record when it comes to nuclear weapons. The bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki during World War II are stark reminders of the devastating impact these weapons can have. I mean, they are the only country to have ever actually used them in war. The decision to drop those bombs has been debated for decades, with arguments about its necessity and morality. After World War II, the US and the Soviet Union, now Russia, got really into this whole mutually assured destruction thing. This doctrine meant that both sides had enough firepower to destroy each other many times over, creating a tense standoff that lasted for decades. These days, the US still maintains a strong nuclear deterrent, with advanced technology and rigorous training to ensure readiness at all times, arguing that it's necessary to keep the world safe from bad guys. The idea is that a strong nuclear arsenal can prevent conflicts by making the cost of war too high. Of course, who gets to decide who the bad guys are is a whole other can of worms. This question has led to numerous debates and discussions on the global stage, with no easy answers in sight. And in third place, we have China, with an estimated 350 nuclear warheads. Now, that might sound like small potatoes compared to Russia and the US, but trust me, it's still enough to ruin pretty much everyone's day. China's nuclear program is shrouded in secrecy, kind of like the recipe for Coca-Cola or the true meaning of the ending of Inception. China has always maintained that its nuclear arsenal is purely for self-defense, but their growing stockpile and increasingly sophisticated delivery systems have made some countries a little nervous. Chapter 4, Number 4, France. They're bringing the pain, au gratin. Coming in at number 4 is France, a country known for its romantic language, delicious pastries, and oh yeah, an estimated 290 nuclear weapons. France developed its nuclear program in the 1960s because apparently they felt left out of the whole who can make the biggest kaboom party. Today, France still sees its nuclear arsenal as a key part of its national security strategy. They're like that friend who brings up their black belt in karate at every party, just in case you forgot they could totally take you down if they wanted to. Chapter 5, Number 5, the United Kingdom, keeping calm and carrying a big stick. And rounding out our top 5 is the United Kingdom, with an estimated 225 nuclear warheads at their disposal. This small island nation has managed to maintain a significant nuclear arsenal, ensuring its place on the global stage. The UK's nuclear program dates back to the 1950s, when they decided that having a special relationship with the US also meant having their own nuclear arsenal. This decision was driven by the desire to not only protect themselves, but also to have a say in global nuclear policies. These days, the UK's nuclear weapons are seen as a way of maintaining their status as a global power. The presence of these weapons serves as a deterrent to potential threats and ensures that the UK remains a key player in international politics. It's like that old saying, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the highly enriched uranium in the warhead, or something like that. The UK's commitment to its nuclear program highlights its determination to stay relevant and powerful in an ever-changing world. Chapter 6. Number 6. Pakistan, a nuclear balancing act. In 6th place, we have Pakistan, with an estimated 165 nuclear warheads. Pakistan's nuclear program is a relatively recent development, driven by their rivalry with neighboring India. Pakistan conducted its first nuclear tests in 1998, just weeks after India did the same. Pakistan's nuclear arsenal is seen as a deterrent against India, but it also raises concerns about the potential for regional conflict and the possibility of nuclear weapons falling into the wrong hands. It's a bit like giving a couple of toddlers loaded water pistols and hoping they don't accidentally spray each other in the face. Chapter 7. Number 7, India, the other half of a very tense equation. Coming in at number 7 is India, with an estimated 160 nuclear warheads. India's nuclear program is intertwined with Pakistan's, like a pair of headphones that are constantly getting tangled up in your pocket. They conducted their first nuclear test in 1974, claiming it was for peaceful purposes. India's nuclear arsenal is primarily seen as a deterrent against Pakistan, but it also adds another layer of complexity to an already volatile region. It's like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube while riding a unicycle on a tightrope, not exactly a recipe for stability. Chapter 8, Number 8, Israel, the unconfirmed but definitely their nuclear power. And in 8th place we have Israel, with an estimated 90 nuclear warheads. Now, Israel is notoriously secretive about its nuclear program. Israel's nuclear arsenal is widely believed to be a deterrent against its neighbors, but its ambiguity also creates uncertainty in the region. Chapter 9, Number 9, North Korea, the unpredictable wild card. Coming in at number 9 is North Korea, with an estimated 40 to 50 nuclear warheads. North Korea's nuclear program is like that friend who shows up to a party uninvited, drinks all your beer, and then starts doing karaoke really badly at the top of their lungs. North Korea's nuclear ambitions are driven by a desire for regime survival and international recognition, but their unpredictable behavior makes them a wildcard in an already volatile global order. Chapter 10, Number 10, a surprise guest or maybe not. And finally, rounding out our top 10 list is, well, it's complicated. You see, there are a few other countries that are suspected of having or developing nuclear weapons, but the information is often classified or unreliable. Some of the usual suspects include Iran, which has been accused of pursuing a nuclear weapons program under the guise of peaceful nuclear energy research, and Syria, which was caught building a secret nuclear reactor and promptly bombed by Israel back in 2007. The nuclear takeaway, it's not just a numbers game. So there you have it, folks, a whirlwind tour of the world's nuclear powers. It's a sobering thought, to say the least, that we live in a world where a handful of countries possess the firepower to end human civilization as we know it. But it's important to remember that nuclear weapons aren't just about numbers. They represent a complex web of political, historical, and strategic factors that shape international relations. The only way to truly guarantee our safety is through diplomacy, arms control, and a commitment to peaceful solutions.